Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Bipolar personality disorder is something that we've been discussing, and we identified the different criteria for the diagnosis. Today, we're going to go deeper into the actual treatment for it. And she and her team work with people all the time as part of Trickett Counselling. She's Marinela Trickett. She's back with us. Welcome back. How are you doing today?
Hello, Steve, to you and all of the listeners out there. I do hope all of you have a little bit of better weather. We had a bit of snow here in Toronto, Canada.
Oh my! Wow! Hello, spring. We have decent weather here in New York. I want to say it's about 50 degrees ish, but I'm not kidding when I say this. We had an earthquake. We had an earthquake a little while ago. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I do hope everyone out there who's listening is safe and well and okay with that.
Yeah, it was just call it a tremor, 4.8, so somewhat significant. We don't normally get them around here, so it was definitely a wake up. But all good. Things were shaking, and we're going back to our conversation here about BPD. And was it 9 different criteria? Do I have that right? I'm trying to remember. It was 9, right?
Yes, Steve. Yes, we spoke. I just want to distinguish between bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder. We mentioned both types of struggles in our conversation. Just kind of clarification.
Sure.
With that, because again. The potential for diagnosis, misdiagnosis, assessment, and all of that. Here, we are attempting to destigmatize. We are attempting to bring more information to listeners out there, to listeners who themselves struggle, or family members who are struggling in terms of what do I do? Where do I turn to? My family member is suffering here. So these are our attempts in our conversations to destigmatize all human suffering and to say, we are here to support you. And along with that, in our talks about borderline personality disorder, and we briefly touched on bipolar differential diagnosis. I used the DSM order as one of our diagnostic and statistical manual that we are relying with the diagnosis of the disorder. So kind of going back, a long-winded answer to your question, Steve, definitely borderline personality disorder as of the last edition of the DSM has 9 diagnostic criteria for diagnosis. If that is important to the person suffering, for diagnosis, we need 5 out of those 9 in any combination. This is why BPD presents in such a kind of vast array of presentations. And that is why it has been giving troubles to clinicians, therapists, to recognize it, because sometimes the person comes and present this way. Next session, the person will come and present that way. The third session, they will say, hey, I'm struggling yet with that third behavior over there. So that is why we are here.
Mm-hmm. And we went through those 9. Let's say somebody has 5 of the 9, they're diagnosed with BPD. Where do we go from there?
Where do we go from there? As of today, go-to treatment for BPD is called dialectical behavior therapy. The person who is recognized world-renowned psychologist, her name is Marsha Linehan. She was the one who kind of put together all of those skills and tools, very, very helpful when we are addressing BPD. Dialectical behavior therapy, we mentioned earlier in our talks, in one of our initial talks regarding borderline personality disorder, a few of the theories about BPD, one of being biosocial, and the other one was dialectical theory about the development of BPD. So, what is dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT? I imagine many of the listeners are familiar with separate snippets of skills and tools. DBT is very, very practical. Now, I'm thinking probably every time I speak with clients about those skills, I'm asked, why are these skills not taught in our school systems? They are very, very practical functions.
I tell you, I've heard of DBT. I'm not even 100% sure what it is. So I'm glad we're having this conversation today. And again, DBT stands for what?
Dialectical behavior therapy.
Okay. All right. Can you walk us through that?
Absolutely. As the name kind of alludes to, dialectics, the basic premise is two things that are occurring at the same time, two emotions that are occurring at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. They're coexisting.
Gotcha. I had no idea that was part of it. And when we say two messages, how would you give us an example? What two would be at the same time that somebody might be experiencing?
Absolutely. We balance in DBT and kind of looking at the treatment of BPD, we balance acceptance and change, acceptance and change, acceptance of all the difficult emotions, all the invalidation, all the hurts that person has experienced in their life. Again, we spoke about how DBT, how BPD comes to be. Person who is biologically predisposed emotional sensitivity combined with invalidating environment. That invalidating environment, acceptance of what happened. Let's say when I was a child, I was told, my experiences do not matter. I have to display only one experience. As a result, I learned to gauge I learned to get information of my needs from the external environment. That is what we call invalidation. As a result, there's a big conflict inside that is happening. So acceptance is arriving at present moment, arriving that I have this big emotion, arriving at what happened, arriving at all of that. And that on itself, it's not the necessary required condition for changing the behaviors. We also have to engage with a few strategies and techniques that are very helpful in order to change the behaviors. So DBT is a kind of epitome, if you will, of those two things that exist at the same time, acceptance and change. Acceptance and change is almost like a dance between the two. And you probably recognize, Steve, acceptance and change, some of the diagnostic criteria that we spoke about. Impulsivity, for example, a big part of impulsivity is very quick, either or. I go about my day, I get into the store, for example, and just because I'm triggered, one of my problematic behaviors is shoplifting. I see something and I have the urge to take it and leave. This is one of the behaviors, for example, that people with BPD struggle with. And acceptance that, hey, I am triggered here. Something is happening for me, recognizing that. And introducing some behaviors to change that maladaptive behavior.
How does, when we talk about DBT, address those? Like, why don't we let's pick a scenario, hypothetic, something that somebody's going through with their BPD, and then how do we take care of it? Solution problem. I mean, sorry, problem solution.
Problem solution. Yes, yes. Maybe as today we are introducing DBT, I will start from kind of the other way around. DBT, and what is actually is DBT is we have 4 modules in DBT. 2 of them are acceptance, 2 of them are change modules, if we look at it like that. So it is a set of skills and tools that we, along with the clients, along with people who come to work with us, we work together. We give homework. Hey, from today until next week, for example, let's practice distress tolerance skills. This is one of the modules, distress tolerance. When my distress surfaces, when I'm triggered, what can I do? And that's where we get a specific example. One of the diagnostic criteria we spoke about is frantic efforts to avoid abandonment, for example. Perceive abandonment. Let's say I'm at home, my partner has told me they're going to call me at this hour. However, something happened in their work. They're not able to call me. They're not able to text me. I'm triggered.
Okay.
Yes. And my problematic behavior is starting to text. I send 10, 20 texts. It's not even the end of the working day. I call, and that activation surfaces in my body. So then I go to see a person such as myself who works to help people struggling with that. And we engage into a conversation about distress tolerance skills. We know, for example, temperature is very, very, and we touched on that one of our very past conversations. Temperature very, very quickly shuts down our activation in our nervous system. So using ice, for example, is one very specific skill and tool we work on. Hey, there is ice, there is intense exercise, there is space breathing, there is mindfulness. And we also have a number of skills that we go through, such as, is there something I can do to soothe my senses? Self-soothing. I have a few senses: visual, auditory, tactile, olfactory. Is there something I can do to soothe my senses? And the first, one of the first thing that, for example, comes into conversation is bath, taking a bath. Very impactful, very effective. Ice and cold temperature, it's effective in shutting down activation. Warmth, heat is very effective for soothing.
And it's many times you hear people take a bath, but why does it work? Yeah, I want to better understand that. So it's the warm water does something in itself, correct?
Temperature, warm water is soothing. We immerse our body, that is a tactile sensation. We immerse our body in the body of water of temperature that is preferred by us. Usually, what happens when we take a bath? Usually we use candles, dim down the light. That gives visual cue through our eyes. It's the day is coming towards the end. And when that happens, we start to wind down. There are changes in our brain waves that are happening. It's time to start to kind of winding down. Parasympathetic nervous system starts to kick in. So we have tactile, we have visual. Also, very common when we take a bath is we play music. We don't play the same music as when we go to the gym, for example, workout. Sure. We play soothing music, usually slow, so-called spa or tranquil music, very popular. We have tactile, we have visual, we have auditory. We also put some kind of bubble bath scent. So the reason why taking a bath is really, really popular and effective skill and tool for us humans, for those of us who prefer that, and more of us do, um, it's because it engulfs, it attacks, so to speak, in a very positive way, most of our senses. Sometimes we also have gustatory experience along with that. So all of these experience help with the soothing, using all of the senses. So this is how and why bathtubs are, taking a bath is so popular and effective skill.
Hmm. I I can't tell you the last time I took a bath. Decades. So maybe I should circle back to that. That seems like it's a good thing.
It's one of the things, kind of looking at that in with a different set of eyes. Alternative to that is taking a shower. We have a sound of the water coming over us. Even I spoke recently with the client with a newborn baby, and the client was sharing with me, my baby was distressed. My baby, we had never taken a shower. This was the first time. I didn't know what to do. I tried this, I tried this, I tried this. I was getting activated. I was hugging my baby. We turned on the shower, and I felt, ah.
Hmm.
So it is, a shower is another version or variant for skill tool that we can use when we are activated. Cold shower when we are highly activated to shut down. Warm shower for self-soothing. We can use again the sound of a rainforest. So often we put those sounds when we go to sleep. Changes our brain waves, puts us from beta activation to alpha activation in terms of brain waves, in terms of when kind of our activity throughout the day. Also, we can put a few drops of our favorite scent on the floor. So uh, the warmth of the shower kind of evaporates the scent of that. So again, we use multiple senses with taking a shower. We can use very, very practical tools. Things of daily life, like a bath and a shower. There's very specific examples in order to help us with our activation and soothing. For those people who are not struggling with disordered eating patterns, for example, we have a set of suggestions in terms of distress tolerance. Have you ever bitten in a lemon, just as you bite an apple? Not a slice of lemon, but biting into a lemon like that
Yeah.
is quite an experience. Even if we enjoy the flavor of lemon, it's quite an experience. Not self-harming experience. It's a powerful enough to take our attention to that experience. So it takes our attention away from the activation. That's one example of how we can use our daily life, things of our daily life, to help us to take our attention away from that activation, away from my thoughts that are going, hey, why is it my partner not calling me? Why is it my partner not calling me? Okay, I can go and take a bath. I can go and bite into a lemon. I can engage in activity of some kind. I can go to the gym. I can, in one of our future talks, we will speak specifically and only about the breath and the power of our breath. I can contribute, for example, going out, volunteering, very popular volunteering in the animal shelter. Kittens and puppies are very helpful, our assistance in terms of self-soothing and helping. But I also want to keep an eye on a dialectical behavior therapy, introducing, this was only one of the 4 modules, distress tolerance. And because there are so many skills and tools, very, very practical behaviors we can do, we can talk about it even longer. just for the interest of time, I want to introduce to our listeners the rest of the modules within DBT. And these are mindfulness. Mindfulness, it's a very big and popular tool in practice. Big part of it is breath, and as I mentioned, we'll spend the entire conversation on breath and breath work. Mindfulness help us with the way in the long term, practicing mindfulness along with so many benefits changes our body. Practicing mindfulness meditation changes our body, changes our brain functionally, structurally, chemically, decreases our activation, changes the way we see the world when we see consequences, and therefore that ability to track those impulsive urges, for example, and so on and so forth. Again, very big topic, mindfulness. I'm here today just to introduce and start that conversation and information for those listeners who are interested to learn a little bit more and in depth about each one of those tools.
And mindfulness is so important and kind of a buzzword. A lot of people are talking about it, but I don't feel that a lot of us know what exactly mindfulness is. We're just about out of time. So before we start something new here, I don't know how that happens. Like it took us a while to get through the 9 criteria for BPD.
Yes. Yes.
What about next time getting together, we talk about mindfulness and the importance of it?
Definitely, Steve. When we in our next conversation, perhaps we can speak more about mindfulness and more about the rest of the two modules with DBT, which are this already mentioned distress tolerance and mindfulness. The other two are emotion regulation and interpersonal effectiveness.
This stuff can get a little deep, but you make it clear for us, and that's why somebody reaches out to you and your team. You can work with anybody anywhere. Am I right about that?
Absolutely. We have been working with clients all across the country, all across Canada. We have been working with clients from across the pond from Europe. We have been working with clients from the United States as well. We are here to help and support those listeners who may feel lost, those listeners who themselves, and again, or family member experience struggles. We are here for that.
Wonderful. How do we find you, Marinela?
TrickettCounselling.com and TrickettPsychotherapy.com. There, listeners can find our email address and our phone numbers. We are here for support. And I know 30 minutes is such a short time to present all that we want to present. We just hope this is the beginning for those of you who need help.
Starts with awareness, and even something as simple as taking a bath. I never realized what kind of impact that can have. So thank you for sharing that. I mean, just how it involves all of our senses, when you do it right, and how that can be so impactful. It's things like that you bring to light. I don't think people realize that. Yes, it's relaxing and all of that, but there's much more going on. Trickett Counselling, TRICKETT, counseling.com. Thank you so much for being here today, Marinela.
Steve, to you and all of your listeners out there, I do hope, again, everyone is safe and well. And I really sincerely appreciate the opportunity to start the conversation about suffering and healing.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.